What's going on, folks? It's your main man, Rick the Don. If you're watching this episode, then right now you just need a really good recap about what took place on episode 21. And let me tell you, this one was absolutely insane. I would argue, I am prepared to argue this, that this was the most exciting episode this season. I stand behind that. So, yes, you're in the right place. We're going to break down every important moment of the game. But first, this episode is brought to you by the Really Hood Podcast. Also available, the Really Hood podcast is available everywhere podcasts are available. It's also brought to you by reallyhood.com, my indie music site, as well as vidmondo.com, my independently owned, American-owned video sharing platform. All right. I want to say you all have been showing out on my behalf. I love you at this point. We're family. I mean, you can't spend weeks together and not at some point start to realize that you got some new friends. So I really appreciate the amazing people that support me. Now let's jump into this real quick. I would like to say that this episode started off with Terrance declaring war. Terrance has been on a war path lately. He declares war against the leftovers. Essentially, he's taking that information that he got from Kyle and he fully intends to utilize it to just cause chaos. And we see that several times in this episode. Turner is confused by Terrance's move. Obviously, Turner is out the loop at this point in the game. He doesn't quite know what's going on with Kyle or that Kyle has exposed the alliance. So at this point in this episode, he shows a little confusion about what Terrance is doing. Dire Fest sucks because there are no places to talk game. I noticed that in the episode, and also I believe a player also pointed out that being outside in the backyard with no rooms, no nooks, no crannies to hide in and talk game, it kind of sucks. And I was just kind of looking. I was like, wow, this is kind of cringe a little bit. And of course, we've all heard about the wall yeller. And I have a confession. It was me. All right. So, but yeah, they can't talk game because you go into a area with someone. Everyone can see that you're talking with someone. And what else are you going to talk about but the game itself? All right. Terrance tells Joseph that Kyle is his target. So Terrance, if you don't know this, in this episode, he steps up. If you're keeping track in terms of a power ranking, like each week, where do players rank? Terrance had to come up on everybody's radar as a serious player. Okay. And that's the theme of this episode. Has Terrance and Brittany finally earned your respect? Okay. So Terrance tells Joseph that Kyle is his target. He's playing chess. And I didn't know that Terrance, anyway, I'll save that for a little bit later. Joseph has no idea of Kyle's betrayal. Now, this information I'm giving you will come out sequentially. So at this point in the episode, Joseph has no idea that Kyle has thrown the entire alliance under the bus, and Terrance used that to his advantage when he's talking game to several people, in this case, Joseph. All right, Terrance makes Turner believe he revealed his allegiance to Joseph during OTEV week. So at some point in this episode, Terrance and Turner have some conversations, and Turner wants some answers. Like, hey, so why am I on the block? What happened? What took place? And to my surprise, Terrance makes Turner feel bad for something that may or may not have taken place. Terrance tells Turner that during the OTEV week, Turner alluded to working with Joseph. And he said something about, it's factual that he's working with Joseph. And apparently, Terrance uses that to his advantage when talking to Turner. Turner says, hey, that happened so long ago. I have no idea what you're talking about. But, hey, I say so much in this game that it is possible that I said facts when you brought up Joseph. And Turner tries to save face by saying, look, I didn't mean facts as if it's factual that I'm working with Joseph. I was just saying facts in accordance to what you were saying. And of course, Terrance just plays along with that. Okay, Turner is okay with sacrificing Joseph. This was a very surprising part in this episode. We find out for the first time that there are some not just cracks, there are gaping holes in the Leftovers Alliance. And at this point in the episode, Turner voices that he is certainly okay with sacrificing Joseph should it come to it. And at this point, he also mentions that he would do so in favor of keeping Kyle. Believe it or not. All right. Is Kyle wrong for exposing Alliance, or was he 1 week early? So in this episode, Kyle says something that was very interesting. He just notes, I think, in reference to Joseph, he says, hey, I was 1 week early to the punch. And it made me think to myself, how do you feel about Kyle's gameplay? Let me know in the chat. Are you still mad at Kyle? Are you even more mad at Kyle? Where do you stand when it comes to Kyle? I'm going to tell you right now. In this part of the episode, I started to think to myself, Was he just 1 week early? If the entire alliance breaks down, did Kyle make the right move because he did it 1 week early? Look, I'm not the kind of player that watches this show in a biased fashion. I don't root for this side. I don't root for that side. I root for good gameplay. And I have to be honest with you. I am a little upset about the move because you just want to see the leftovers just dominate. But then again, I look at every player and what they have to do to win themselves. And while the alliance is important, we always have to keep in mind that these players are trying to win for themselves. And with that being said, Kyle may be right about that. He might have made the right move because he decided to act 1 week, just 1 week early. Okay, so I'm not sure if I'm totally upset with Kyle. Michael says that if Jasmine took herself off the block, he and Brittany would have the opportunity to make a big move. So this was the first time that I found out how Michael really feels. For the last couple of weeks, Michael has made me believe, as a viewer, someone who's really paying attention, Michael has made me believe that he was in a three-way alliance with he, himself, and Taylor. But this episode showed me that Taylor doesn't quite have a strong position in Michael's future, right? When it comes to his game moving forward, he doesn't see Taylor as a permanent, passenger, more or less just, someone that might be there, may not be there. But in this episode, he lets it slip. I'm not sure if it was intentional or not, but he lets it slip that should things go awry, he has no problem with moving forward with just Brittany. And also in this episode, he mentions quite often the possibility of taking shots at Monty. I did not see that. I didn't see that coming. That was a surprise to me. I don't want to pretend like that didn't surprise me. I know that Monty is a threat to the house, not to me. I don't see it, but the house sees him as a big threat. But I didn't know that Michael really considered taking a shot. Those people that watch the live feeds probably know that. I don't watch them, so I didn't know that. All right. Anyway, Tiffany of Big Brother 23 makes a special appearance. So now we go ahead and head on to the veto competitions, and hey, we get a awesome BB23 special guest, and that is Tiffany. All right, she hosts the BB Rochella side of the veto competition, and it was good to see her. She looked very good. She's just glowing. Beautiful, in my opinion, just very beautiful young lady. Just kind of, she's definitely tooting her own horn quite a bit in this episode. Like, she knows that she's America's favorite, and you certainly get the sense that she's not bashful about that. But the veto competition on the BB Brochella side was pretty cool. They have a competition where you have to write down the number of things that you see on the wall, and they also have this new caveat where you can choose to fold, and as such, you can avoid being eliminated from the game. I'm not sure how I felt about that, but it definitely worked in one person's favor. And that is because Brittany wins the freaking veto. Can you wow, where did this come from? And it was funny because in this episode, Brittany points out that she is a how you say the word, hypnosis or hypnosis, whatever. She does hypnotizing on people, okay? And she points out that at one point during the episode, she's using hypnosis on the other individuals and makes them all fold, according to her and her hypnosis abilities. All right, so everyone folds one round, and even though Brittany, she wasn't too far off, she probably would have still did okay in that round if everyone played, but because everyone folds, she wins by default. Insane. But then overall, Brittany takes the win, and I'm telling you, I didn't know how to. I was like, wow, she beats Michael, she beats Monty, she beats Taylor. She beat some pretty stiff competition there. So shout out to Brittany on that one. Jasmine thinks Michael will use the veto. So Jasmine, she realizes that she is on the block. She believes that Michael will use the veto. Why? Because she doesn't quite know. Well, she doesn't know about the leftovers, number one. And number two, she still sees the fact that Monty is a huge threat. And hey, she takes solace in the fact that she's on the block with someone like Michael. And she figures, hey, Michael would have to be, not Michael, I mean Monty. She figures, hey, Michael would have to be crazy not to take this shot at Monty. So she still feels like she has a chance. But it was a funny part in this episode where Jasmine, for the very first time this entire season, she talks game with Brittany, because Brittany won the veto competition for the first time ever, maybe since the Girls Alliance. I mean, wow, what an ancient and dusty alliance that was. But anyway, for the first time since that alliance, Brittany and Jasmine talk game. Really, Jasmine talking game to Brittany. Not sure it worked though. Okay, Michael already knows that Kyle could flip. Now, this is another moment in this episode where I realized just how good Michael is at this game. Man, I'm like, this guy is insane. Like, he reminds me of like a hybrid between Derek, like a Dr. Will kind of play. Like he knows things that you can. This is how we know that Michael is a super fan because Michael knows things that he's not supposed to know. Or us as the viewers, because we have the privilege of seeing the inside and outside of the game, we know things about the game that the players inside don't. But Michael is the only player that I can remember in recent history that he knows things that I know, and he's not supposed to. He mentions at one point in this episode that he realizes that Kyle could possibly flip, and he notes that if Kyle and Alyssa come back in the house next week, that's because Kyle flipped. And because Michael already realizes that as a possibility, um, he starts to fan the flames with other members in the house, that being Brittany and Taylor. So he starts to kind of get in their ear and say, hey, this is possible. This could possibly happen. And if so, we know what happened. So he's already putting himself in prime position. Once Kyle and Alyssa come back in the house, if that happens, he is already in prime position to have those two sides sling mud at each other while he's safe. All right. He also tells Monty that. I forgot about Monty. All right. You see, Monty discusses ramifications of Kyle flipping. So after Michael brings this up to Monty, as I said, he's planting seeds. After he brings that up, Monty in his diary room confessions just has a moment where he's like, it's like he doesn't know that it's possible, but he's like, if Kyle and Alyssa come back, it's going to be war. So I am looking completely forward to that. Should Monty and Kyle and Alyssa survive this week, more or less, Kyle and Monty, I am looking totally forward to a all-out war. Man, you think I'm excited now? I thought this was the best episode this season, but I think the best is yet to come. All right, so so Monty has that moment. Kyle further exposes the alliance, admits that his entire game revolves around Alyssa. So two things come out of this point. He's on the hammock with Alyssa, and at this point, he's just going in on the leftovers. He's not leaving anything to the imagination. And I can imagine, because I've been looking around the internet in terms of my Facebook groups, people are extremely furious with Kyle. And I did not expect that. I'll be honest with you. I thought people would respect the gameplay, respect the game of Big Brother itself. I mean, it's strategy. It's about outwitting the other people. And it's about doing things that, lying and backstabbing. That's it's gameplay, right? But that is not how people are seeing it. And that's all different types of people from all different walks of life. I'm like, wow. But anyway, they couldn't have been happy about what they saw with Kyle. Kyle further digs himself deeper into probably American hate at this point because he just goes in on the alliance. He finally admits that his entire game revolves around Alyssa. I didn't know that. I thought that the game still kind of had slight leverage over Alyssa, but no, he makes it very clear that Alyssa is his game. And he also talks with Terrance and just completely throws everyone under the bus. Man, it gets real bad. If you were upset about last week, you definitely you should be very upset after this one, even more so because he just goes in. Kyle knows that if Alyssa survives, he'll have some explaining to do. So while he's on the hammock with Alyssa, he notes to Alyssa that, hey, if we both walk into that house, I'm going to have some explaining to do because he realizes that everyone's going to have some suspicions, right? And also he's telling Alyssa, hey, Michael, he's in on it. Taylor is in on it. So she's like, wait, so, she's starting to pick up the scent here. Like, okay, wow, all these people are involved. And as such, they both, in a lot of ways, start the game plan like, hey, so, what are we going to do once this happens? Because apparently this is happening. We're both going back in that house. At least at the moment in the game, this is what they were thinking. All right. And next, Terrance wins veto. Oh my gosh. Terrance is not, okay, I'm going to hold off on that part. Look, the question this entire episode is based off of is, do you finally respect the gameplay of Brittany and Terrance? There's a veto competition which takes place on the BB Dyer side of the house. And I don't even know what this. Listen, I'll be honest. I was like kind of paying attention. I saw they had a whole bunch of school container boxes, and when I saw the school container boxes, I think I just like tuned out. But anyway, I did see what happened. Okay, Terrance wins, and I saw the fact that he won after putting 50 containers on some type of contraption. So I'm gonna just go on a limb and say that the competition was about stacking lunch boxes or lunch containers on some little contraption, and you had to stack at least 50 on them. That's the best I got for you. And Terrance did that better than everybody, okay, for whatever reason. But yeah, Terrance wins, and the question has to be asked: is Terrance a top player in the game right now? Is he a top 5 player in the game right now? And Here's my answer. Yes. Yes. I don't know what happened. Someone said it in the episode. They said he went from a spud to a stud or something to that effect. Look, Terrence, I can't. Terrence is certainly impressing me right now. I'm an unbiased player. Remember that. I'm unbiased. I never go with the wave. I never go with the crowd. I go with logic. And Terrence is a top 5 player right now. Some might even argue top 3. Some. All right. Now, Joseph is clueless about Kyle's portrayal. So after Terrence wins the veto competition on the BB Dyer side, obviously everyone wants to talk to him. They realize the implications of that win and that Terrence has complete control. And he has complete control on a side that had Turner, Kyle, and Joseph. You know, my wife and I were trying to figure this out. Why didn't Joseph? Why hasn't Joseph won anything? He has the body of a warrior, and the guy can't win anything. I was just so confused by that. But anyway, I mean, what does it mean that Terrence beats out Kyle and like people say that Turner's the winner of this game, or will be America's favorite house guest. What does it mean that he's losing to people like Terrence? I think there's more game to be, discussed here. But anyway, that's what happens. Everyone wants to talk to him. Joseph is completely in the dark about what's going on with Kyle's betrayal. So he's pitching to Terrence in a way that would save him, Kyle, and Turner. And we're all confused. We're talking about the viewers. We're very confused. Like, wait a minute. Well, he really doesn't understand what's going on. So he's still trying to save Kyle even at this moment. Some would call that loyalty. I don't know what I call it. Maybe just not being in the know, perhaps. All right. Joseph trying to save Kyle, Turner, and himself backfires. Or does it help? And now I say that, and I ask that question is because at one point, while trying to save Kyle and Turner, Terrence does the unthinkable. And at this point, this is the biggest moment of the episode because Terrence, in the most casual way possible, says, "Hey, why are you trying to save that dude?" And we all are bracing ourselves like, is he about to do it? And he does it. He says, "Why are you trying to save this dude? You know he threw you under the bus, right?" He's talking about Kyle. So Terrence tells Joseph that Kyle exposed the leftovers, and he even says the name. So now Joseph can't even deny it. So he says, "Why are you trying to save this dude? He already told us about, what is it, the leftovers?" And Joseph just like, if you can just do a freeze frame on his face right there, it's like he's completely surprised that this happened. And this is the game. And at this point, you realize it's on and popping. You realize that it's definitely real. All right, so Kyle goes directly to Terrence and tells what. Oh yeah, so I missed the part. So before the conversation between Joseph and Terrence, Kyle and Joseph have a conversation. Joseph is talking to Kyle about, hey, we gotta do this, do that. And right after that conversation, Kyle goes to Terrence and tells everything that Joseph is planning. And Kyle attempts to create a new alliance with himself, Alyssa, Terrence, and Turner. So right after Joseph talks with Kyle about, how to somehow prep this weekend, maybe even get Terrence to pull one of them down or perhaps Joseph down, Kyle goes right to Terrence and lets him know the entire Joseph scheme and plan. He even says, "Hey, Terrence, he's probably going to come to you and say some things about the showmance." So Kyle is prepping Turner as if, no, I'm sorry, Terrence. Kyle is prepping Terrence for Joseph's pitch. And he also mentions that he wants to start a new alliance between Kyle, Alyssa, Terrence, and Turner. So this is the first time we hear of a whole new concept via Kyle's amazing gameplay. Okay. Terrence drops a bomb on Joseph, tells him that Kyle exposed him in the leftovers. I just told you that. Terrence masterminds Joseph. So Terrence realizes that by telling Joseph this, he's causing even more chaos between the leftovers because Joseph, he realizes that, wait, so you know everything? And as such, right away, he realizes how big of a bomb this is. And he immediately, they kind of cut to his diary room confession. And he points out like, hey, so Kyle completely blew up our games. It's war. And all you see is Terrence just like casually just, playing the puppet master there. And I couldn't believe it. Terrence plays street cred. Now, this was a funny part in this episode because while talking with Joseph, what Terrence does is like straight out of the street code. All right. If you're from like the streets and you street smart, this move that Terrence plays. So Joseph, he kind of comes across as pretty hip, pretty urban, right? So Terrence says, hey, Kyle just snitched on you. It's like when you use that word snitch in like black culture or street culture or anything of that caliber, that's like that carries a heavy connotation. Anybody called a snitch is like, that's like a really bad word in the streets, right? So Terrence used that verbiage when he's talking to Joseph about Kyle. He said, Kyle snitched on you. And then, Joseph immediately kind of catches on to the vibes like, oh, he snitched on me. Like, it was so hilarious a little bit. But anyway, yeah. So Terrence is masterminding Joseph. He's using the fact that, hey, Joseph, he seems to be, let me try to see if this. Terrence played a heck of a game this episode. We see Brittany leads nominations the same. So, all right, just fast forward a little bit. So we go back into the house and we see that Brittany leads the nominations the same. And you see that Monty and Jasmine are on the block. They're not coming off. And after that, after you see that Brittany leads the nominations the same, Michael says something that's very surprising to me. He says, the target is Jasmine, but we might be ready to make a big move. So Michael, several times this episode alludes to potentially targeting Monty. And that it fills in some blanks for me, because for such a while I was wondering, while so many people in the chats and the Facebook groups were saying stuff about Monty, I'm like, why would Monty go home? Because I asked the question to everyone. I said, who's going home next? I heard a lot of people say Monty, and I couldn't understand why. Now I see why. Perhaps they were saying what I saw tonight on the live feeds and noted that apparently Michael was possibly gunning for Monty. I'll be very surprised if that happens, but hey, it's possible at this point. All right, Kyle gets blindsided. Terrence puts Kyle on the block. This is the second, the debatable first, one of the best parts of this episode, because not because Kyle goes up, but because Terrence evolves right in front of your eyes. Terrence turns into a masterful player right in front of your eyes. Even Kyle says it. He said, has this guy been playing 3D chess the entire time? And as a viewer, I'm thinking the same thing, because Terrence pulls down Turner off the block, okay? And then in Turner's place, he puts up Kyle. So then you see Kyle and Joseph on the block side by side. They're both confused. First off, Joseph doesn't know he's going to make this move, but he thinks to himself, hey, maybe talking with Terrence and using this whole he's a snitch type of verbiage, maybe he's going to stick to the code and we're going to take out Kyle and, go to war. I don't even know what Terrence is doing. And I would normally say he's doing a terrible job, but to this point, having won the HOH and the veto, I'm starting to give him a little more wiggle room and trusting his moves a little bit more. I mean, this guy, what if this was all planned? I doubt it. But what if it was all planned where he's playing a terrible game the entire, like 80% of the game, and then he just turns it on like an Xavier or so? What if that's possible? But anyway, Kyle is also confused because he just exposed his entire alliance. Now, I'm sure that America, or I would say a great portion of America collectively, just jumped out of the seat when they found out that Kyle goes on the block next to Joseph after all the backstabbing he did. And Kyle even says it. He says, I told you about the entire alliance. He thought that would give him some type of grace with Terrence. And you know what? It didn't. It didn't at all. Kyle is confused. Kyle or Joseph will go home next. Look, I'm going to do another episode after this one in just a moment, but I just want to take a moment because I have to digest that move by Terrence. And to answer my own question, Brittany is still working. I'm still trying to, I'm not there yet in terms of giving her the respect that I think she thinks she already has captivated. She reminds me of Jasmine. Like I think last week Jasmine said she had worked so hard to get to this point, and everyone laughed at that point. I think I feel like that about Brittany. I'm not there yet. I feel like she's still kind of riding the coattails of Michael. I'm not there yet. When it comes to Terrence, I am there. Okay, Terrence is absolutely surprising me. Had no idea he had this in him. Okay, DJ Showtime is showing out to win the HOH and then the veto, and then make a big move like putting the leftovers. Who knew that this powerful alliance, who I was ready to say was better than the Cookout, which I'm not sure I still feel that way. Who knew this 50-year-old DJ can take over a group as strong as the leftovers? Now, mind you, the leftovers were split in half, but still, I mean, you have to admire a little bit that Terrence has made these kind of moves. He's put Kyle and Joseph on the block, which means without question, the leftover goes home. And not only that, he's perfectly positioned once the house comes back together because they're going to battle against each other. I mean, who's going to take time to shoot at a Terrence when you got a Michael and a Monty and a Taylor? Like, who's going to do that? So Terrence has, for all intents and purposes, potentially put himself in the finals. It's very possible. But yeah, I'm checking out the chat. Wait, what did you just say? Terrence is what? Oh, look. I know I'm gonna get a lot of pushback on the Terrence thing, but look, I'm unbiased. Once you understand that about me, you'll get it. You know, I remove the color, I remove the faces, I remove the age, I remove the gender, and I just look at the gameplay. And I'm happy with what I'm seeing from Terrence, and I cannot believe I'm saying it, but I respect his gameplay. Now, do I respect the things he said, some of the things he's done? Nah, I don't. But you know, I know how to separate the game from the player, from the person, and I respect his gameplay. I'm not sure if I respect his choices, but you know, none of us are perfect. You know what I mean? That's kind of where I'm at with that. But that is all that I have in terms of a recap. I cannot wait to see what happens tomorrow. I'll be here to discuss whatever does happen, and in fact, I will be back on in just a moment to talk about what I think will happen. All right. But anyway, thank you all for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.